Hey guys, welcome to a game that felt like it never released. The successor to the 1997 classic, Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally here. Now, I just want to jump into this review because I'm excited, so let's begin. Firstly, Final Fantasy VII is a great game. In my opinion, it does a great job being a true successor to the original and has some really great moments in it. It was amazing to meet characters such as Barrett, Tifa, and more once again, and to see these characters brought to life in today's technology. The banter, the interactions characters had with each other felt really amazing, and if you're a fan of the original, I'm sure you'll appreciate seeing these characters talking, laughing, or even getting angry together as they fight for Avalanche against the tyrannical rule of Shinra. So anyway, starting off first, let's jump into the graphics and audio of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Simply put, it's amazing. This game looks beautiful. It sounds amazing. Walking through this world, you'll see some fantastic looking environments, from debris from old and rundown ruins of the world in different sectors to a futuristic take on the top side of Midgard, with interesting and creepy tunnel systems underneath Midgard as well. Even better, seeing these characters themselves running through this terrain looks great, with Cloud and Barrett looking absolutely fantastic. Bosses are also probably the greatest feature in this game with how amazing they look at times. With how amazing some of the bosses look in this game, you'll probably stop and appreciate how great they truly look. Not only the aesthetics, but the audio in this game is amazing as well, like I said. The main character's voices fit them perfectly. Honestly, I personally love Barrett's voice the most, as it portrays him in what I feel a perfect manner. And it also, the same can be said about Cloud. For the most part as well, other side characters also do a great job with their voice acting, and it helps give this world a bit more life. However, there was one particular moment where it wasn't so much the voice acting, but more of the model. They didn't sync up. I'll post the video over here somewhere so you can just have a look. But it was just a hilarious moment, I just thought. It reminded me of Anthem. Now, moving on to the actual gameplay. This game is a linear story experience, and when I say linear, I mean extremely linear, which isn't a bad thing. I feel like linear has gotten a really bad rap over the recent years due to how many great and amazing open world games there have been. However, I have played some great linear games before, and this one honestly counts as a part of them now. I just wanted to mention this because some newer fans to Final Fantasy genre might have come in during, let's say, Final Fantasy 15's time, and whatever you thought of Final Fantasy 15, the first half of that game was honestly an amazing open world experience, and anyone who loved that kind of gameplay might have a bit of a problem with this one due to it being so linear. So you will follow a said path in Final Fantasy VII and even backtrack it at certain times. There are fast travel options available via the Chocobo stations. However, you can't always use these during certain segments, and these fast travel points only become available later on in the game. So you might have a bit of a problem there if you want to fast travel around the map a bit more. Now, another thing is, due to it being so linear, exploration hasn't really been rewarded in this game, say as in Final Fantasy 15. At most, you'll find the occasional treasure chest, which 9 times out of 10 will just give you a high potion, or you'll find some crates you can destroy in a certain room, only to drop some health or maybe some MP. And I'm sure someone will say it's obvious that exploration shouldn't be great in a linear game, but I have played linear games in the past, which exploration was rewarded in a far more satisfying way than here. Of course, if you don't care about exploration, or you simply want to just play Final Fantasy VII for the story, you probably won't have a problem here. However, I do wish there was a bit more exploration in this game due to the beautiful world they have built. However, at the end of the day, this is mainly more just a minor complaint, since you will be enthralled with the game's story and character moments for the most part, so it shouldn't bother you too much. Also, another great aspect is the combat in this game. You'll have a great time, I guarantee it. You'll cleave through enemies and use abilities based off when your AP bar is full. This really shines also when you encounter some of the really great boss battles to be had in this game. I will mention though, there are some rather annoying common enemies, which for some unknown reason are harder to deal with than actual bosses themselves, and they can get on your nerves a little bit. The leveling up system is also done to a great standard. Each weapon you acquire has a set ability attached to it, and if you use that weapon enough, you can master its personal skill, which then can be used on your Buster Sword after. This also applies to other characters in your party, and they can also master weapons to then use those abilities on another weapon of their choice. Materia and spells are also done in a nice little way, where they level up as you use them more. So I'm sure whether you're a fan of the original or you're a fan of the modern ones, you will enjoy the combat system they have provided here in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I want to move on to the actual story of Final Fantasy VII, and as you know, this is a remake of Final Fantasy VII the original, and for the most part, it plays out that story pretty well. I personally love Final Fantasy IX's story the most, but 7 is also a really great time. But that's why my biggest problem with this game is how its great story has now been cut into episodic parts, with this game being the first in, I think it's meant to be 3 parts. So if you've played Final Fantasy VII, this isn't really a problem. You know the story, you know the character's motivations, you know who Sephiroth is, you know why he's bad, his motivations, as well as what he does to certain characters in the story. I won't spoil anything. They also do some confusing cutscenes with a mysterious black-haired individual towards the end with Cloud. Of course, I won't spoil that as well. But I have to think, if you were to look at this from someone who's never played Final Fantasy VII, it would be a rather confusing time seeing him pop up all of a sudden with no answers to who or what his motivations are. Older players, of course, understand all of this and what's going on, but if you are to play this game through the eyes of someone new, someone who wants to get into Final Fantasy VII, but either doesn't have a way of playing the old one or simply just doesn't want to play the old 1997 version, then this game does have a bit of a problem for those players. Like I said before, this is episodic. The story can get rather confusing for these new players as you will not find the answers you need here. There's really no hints or implementations into Sephiroth's motives in this first part of the game at all, even though he plays a rather big part of it and shows up through most of it. New players can't just find these questions out by playing through the game. They're going to be left confused and wondering what the hell happened due to this once complete story now being episodic. And of course, it's not even guaranteed that they'll even finish the other parts for this story, but I'm gonna, take a wild guess and assume they are. Now, in a few years' time, I hope that when they've made all the parts and released them all, this won't be a problem as the whole story will now be together. But I have to review it right now. Of course, once again, none of this is a problem for players who have played the original, so this won't affect you any way whatsoever as you know the story. It's just a bit of a problem for new fans coming in. Another minor problem I had was with some of the quests in this game. Now, most of the quests in this game were okay, and this isn't a big problem. But some do tend to drag on for a bit too long, making it feel like there's an excessive amount of time being wasted. Once again, it wasn't all the time, since a majority of my playthrough I had fun doing them, but every now and again it could get a little tedious doing these quests as they did drag on and some parts of the game you couldn't progress until you did do them. Anyway guys, after all is said and done, this is a great game. For fans of the original, you'll have a fun time. You'll have tons of fun with this game. Combat feels great, characters are well designed, the world feels fantastic, and the story is great for fans of the original. So, for my final score, I am going to give Final Fantasy VII Remake an 8 out of 10. A great game, it's a must own. It only loses some points, mainly because 1, I don't really like how the story that was once whole is now cut into an episodic nature. It makes it more confusing for newer fans because there's no way they can ever get the answers they want, unless they Google it and spoil it for themselves. It kind of feels like a Kingdom Hearts game now with its story being so convoluted, which makes sense since they're both owned by Square Enix. And the other point lost is due to a bunch of minor problems piling up. Now individually, they're mostly nitpicks, but if you were to stack them all up together, it starts to become a little bit of a problem. Now once again, it doesn't ruin the game by any means. You will still have a fantastic time with it, but I do wish there were some little adjustments, if you will, here and there, a little bit of more rewards for exploration. Since this is an RPG, I do expect to have great exploration in an RPG. And I just wish some story moments / quests didn't drag on for as long as they did. Anyway guys, enough of my rambling. What did you think? Tell me below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you have a good time? What did you think? Anyway guys, thanks for watching and goodbye.